Hello, Andrew. How are you? You're mute. You're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted.
Not now.
Okay, very good. I can hear you. I can see your lips moving.
I'm finding my way around this thing.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Very good. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I'm very excited.
Good. Looks like everything's working right now. So hopefully,
Yeah. How many people you got on?
well, right now we've got just you and I, and I believe one viewer, but it's early yet. We've got, I think, 32 people total registered so far. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Brilliant.
so it'd be a nice turnout.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. How's the weather in the UK?
Probably not quite the same as Florida, that's for sure.
I'm certain it's beautiful day today. It's about 80 degrees and lovely.
I think we're about 8 centigrade. So that'll be your way. That'll be about 40, 32 plus. Yeah, it'd be about not much.
Mid 40s,
48 degrees, 50 degrees, something like that.
That's not too bad. Is it damp?
No, it's been a very nice winter's day here. You know, we like the south of England. It's a very lovely part of the world, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it has all the benefits of not getting too hot and not getting too cold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're very grateful for both the jet stream and that's the one above, isn't it? Jet stream and the whatever it is that comes across the
Gulf Stream.
Is it?
The Gulf Stream.
Gulf Stream, that was the one. Yeah, that's it.
So
So those two together make a lot of difference to us.
it makes our beaches very warm here.
Yeah, I bet it does, actually. Yeah, because it kind of swirls around, doesn't it?
Yeah. The further south in the state you are, the warmer the waters are. The further north you go, obviously the Gulf Stream ventures out further, so it's not as warm.
Yeah.
So we're grateful for that here.
Yeah. Right. Now, can we just test that I can get my presentation up?
Okay, very good.
How do I do this? Share screen, don't I?
Share screen.
And then
Yes.
just click on there, right?
Right. Share screen and whatever's open on your desktop, or there you go. Perfect.
You can see that?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So, yeah, great. So you just see what's in the green thing, don't you?
Yes. Actually, I have your entire. You're showing the entire presentation on the left side of the screen there.
That's okay.
You just want to show each individual worksheet as you present it.
Okay, you want me to do it that way?
Right. It's fine. Either way you want to do it, it's fine. It's just that.
Yep. View thumbnails. That should have hide some preview. That should have hide thumbnail somewhere. Hide sidebar. Ah, there we go.
Sidebar, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. There we go. Now, Joe, one of the things that I'm always aware of is the legal side of anything like this. Can you let me know what that is? You know, I'm very aware that anything I do with clients, I always have them sign a contract. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're not making recommendations, and you're not selling anything. So there's no issue of liability here. So
okay.
and you're not guaranteeing anything. So
yeah, I mean, I've put on. You'll see on when I go to share screen, you'll see on the bottom of there. I've got power change products and services are provided strictly under our terms and conditions and client agreement available on request, because
right.
That's one of the things that I do for everything, and I've never ever had anybody sue me or question me in 20 years. So
no, you should be fine. I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
Well, I know what you litigious lot are like over in the States. Yes, exactly. Yeah, good.
Well, we had another viewer, but she just left. I guess she'll be back. I guess maybe it's a little early yet. Um,
Do you usually wait a few minutes for people to turn up, or do you just get straight on?
we try to start right on the hour. Give people an opportunity to log in. So usually, and people will probably log in even after we start. So, but we try to get as many people on before we get going, so they don't miss anything.
Right.
Okay. Let's see here. What I do is I will introduce you.
Yeah.
And just provide a brief background from your bio, obviously.
Yeah.
And then what we'll do, since this is a webinar, we're offering CEU credits. I will give what we usually do is give an opening code. And then at the end of your presentation, before we sign off, I give a closing code. And the reason is that in order to get the unit, you have to be on for the entire presentation. So people will stay on to hear both opening and closing to get if they want the credit.
Yep.
So that's the way we'll do it. Let's see. Yeah, you here. Yeah, got your bio. Yeah.
You've got a lot of hats on your shelf at the back.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to be very active. I was a banker for many years, and so I participated in a lot of golf tournaments. And one of the giveaways in the golf tournament is they give you a baseball cap. So over the years, and I usually use them when I go for my walk. I wear them to protect myself from the sun.
Yep.
Probably a few of them that I could probably get rid of, but I just throw them up there. And
I love hats, but I tend to buy 5 of the same sort every time because I don't play golf. That's for sure. Yeah. I think I played 2 games of golf in my life, and I can't say I particularly enjoyed them. I thought, this is really nice, but when you're playing with somebody who's quite a lot better than you and you look so stupid, I just think, oh well, carry on. They don't ride big motorbikes like I do, so.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So we should have everybody. We still don't have any more. Let's see how many participants. We still only have 3. That's just 3 of us. Claire is on her way. She called me to tell me she was in transit. She had a plan, and so she's on her way back. She's the one that obviously was going to be your guinea pig. Yeah. But if she's not available, we'll reach out to the panelists or to the viewers out there and ask someone if they're interested in volunteering.
That'd be great.
Now she says she'll be on, but she may be on a little after we begin. So if you want, you were planning to do that towards the tail end of your talk.
No, I was going. Well, I'm just going to play it by ear, really. I think what I'd like to do to start up with is just have a bit of a warm up. Just to make sure people know about me a little bit.
Okay.
Talk about cultural differences that happen when we're talking across the pond, as they say, and just talk a little bit about our physical immune systems and get on with it, and probably go through about 2/3 or maybe half of my slides, maybe half, less than that actually, before I actually get on to making the changes and how to do it. And I usually play that by ear, seeing how people respond or whatever. Is there any kind of interchange feedback, or is it just a very much one-way thing?
Well, our viewers are able to ask questions usually through the chat box. They'll type in a question, and I'll relay it to you. I don't want to. I can bring somebody on board and then take them off. I can do that too if that's easier. But what I'll do is, whoever volunteers to work with you, then I'll bring them on, and then you'll be able to see them and talk to them, and they'll be able to. Okay. Everyone can see you. They just can't. You can't hear them though.
Just a good job I cleaned my teeth this morning then.
Very good.
I am quite sure I'm not the average coach. I think the more I think about it, the more I think, oh.
That's okay. Sure, we'll enjoy it. We need a bit of levity here. So,
yeah. There's a little note down there from Susan Klein.
Yeah, we're hearing you fine on this end. There's no static on this end, Susan. Might be on your end. You might want to check your audio.
My video is on HD. Would that be a disadvantage, do you think?
No, no. She's saying she's talking about her sound. So
Okay.
I mean, your sound is coming off crystal clear to me. So it could very well be on her end. Okay, she says she's going to call in. That's fine. She'll be able to get on the landline.
Okay.
Okay. Is anyone else out there who's ever on now? Is anyone else having problems with their audio? If you could just let me know in the chat box if you are. Okay. All right. Well, we are on the hour, so let us get going. For those of you who are on, welcome. I'm Joe Cruz. I'm the VP of ICF South Florida, filling in as a VP of Programming for the time being. Welcome to our first webinar in 2017. We are pleased to have Andrew Sercombe as our presenter today. But before we get into that, a little business to take care of. As you know, those of you who are on the call, this is a CCEU eligible presentation. So if you are interested and you are not a member of ICF, you can certainly earn a CCEU for a $15 fee. For those of you who are ICF South Florida members, it is obviously complimentary. Before we get started, I will provide the opening code, and if you stay on till the very end, I will provide the closing code so that you'll be able to use those both to get your CCEU. The topic today is never the same again. It is a topic that Andrew has developed based on his work in the area of auto response psychology, which he will be glad to get into. Andrew has been a coach for the past 20 years. You don't have a cold, do you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I don't want to sniff over a microphone, no, thanks.
Andrew has been a coach for the past 20 years. Prior to that, he was a pastor and has developed a very specialized niche that he will talk about. He is also an author of 7 personal development books. And as he described himself, he is a keen biker. Andrew lives in England, south of London, and is married with 3 adult children, and his wife's name is Sue. Andrew, and before we get going, I'm going to give the opening code for those of you who are on. The opening code is cognitive, COGNITIVE. Cognitive. That is the opening code. And with that, I present you Andrew.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's very nice to be part of what you're doing over in South Florida. It's some time since I've been in the States. I've been over there a few times at various times doing coaching and visiting in general. And yeah, very, very exciting. I'm British, very English, and I just thought I'd warn you that I don't really do political correctness. So I just love people as they are and honor everybody, whatever they like. And that saves me having to even begin to think about whether I should say this or shouldn't say that. And I just want you to know, those of you who are listening, that my heart is towards men and women being fully what they can be and enjoying their lives. I have a personal strapline vision, and it's men, women, and young people living lives they're proud to own. Men, women, and young people living lives they're proud to own. And I would like to think that you will be a little bit more proud to own your life by the time we've got to the end of this hour together. Good. Well, that's pretty much it. I do have 3 children, but that seems to me that Joe seems to have lost one of them, but I'm sure I'll get one of them back eventually. And today I'm going to talk to you about auto-response psychology and how auto-response psychology, which is something that we've pioneered over here in the UK, how that affects clients individually. I take on 2 new clients a month, about that, sometimes a few more, but generally speaking, limit myself to that. And I teach those clients and coach those clients over a period of 4 2-hour sessions. So I don't do short sessions, I do long ones. And one of my sayings, I'm well known for saying, I don't do shallow. And for me, the whole essence of what I'm doing is getting to the foundational stuff, what's in the very roots of a person's life, and being able to flick that whenever I need to. Joe, something has just disappeared from here. I don't know whether it just says ICF South Florida. Oh, you've come back again. Good.
I'm going to disappear from the video so they can focus on you. So
okay, right.
And I'll be right here.
Okay, right. Just to let you know, this is the first time I've used Zoom. So those of you who we may have one or two minor teething things at this end, particularly because I'm not quite as good to that as I might be. Good. Well, first of all, I want to talk to you about auto-response psychology. Auto-response psychology is one of those things that we think, well, you know, everybody knows about that, don't they? Has that ever been coined? And I'd just like to refer you to Robert Keegan and Lisa LaHaye, who have done quite a lot of work around the immune system, but the psychological immune system. And for me personally, that has been really important. I studied their work and adapted it and changed it and developed it and taken it forward. And interestingly, several things that we came up with, Robert has changed as well, which is great. And so let me just take you to the slides that I've got. I'm going to flip back and forth because I don't want those entirely back and cool here. So let's just go to this. Let's share that one. Now, can you see that one? No, you can't quite see that. Yes, you can see that now. Great. Well,
we can see it.
Yep. Can you see auto-response psychology? Yep, good. Okay. The next slide shows us that it is based on three particular things. So auto-response psychology from Power Change here is based around these three basic things. The first one is our immune system isn't just a physical thing. We are immune to all sorts of situations. You know, we have people who will say, oh, I can't stand that man. I tell a story about a person who said to me one day, I don't know what I can do. I'm living out in, I work out in forestry and I love being out in the forestry, but I couldn't possibly stand in office. And it was such a strong reaction, what I would call an autoimmune response. It was a very strong reaction. And I said, okay, so how is it then that you don't want to work in an office? Oh, I can't stand it. As we talked, she just happened to say, you know, as these things do, she just happened to say, I can't stand grey suits. And I picked that up and we did some more talking about it. And we found that actually she'd been quite badly abused by several people in grey suits when she was very small. And inside she had associated the damage with a grey suit. And so the last thing she wanted to do was be with people who were wearing grey suits or wear a grey suit herself. So that immediately changed her attitude to this. The next part of there is that our immune system makes mistakes. We often jump to wrong conclusions. And of course, we know that we find ourselves immune sometimes physically to things that actually won't hurt us that much, but something inside our bodies has done that. It makes mistakes. And the third aspect of what I'm doing today is that we can correct them. And that's part of what we do. We correct the mistakes that our immune system makes based on learnt behavior in the past for all sorts of reasons. And I thought, first of all, I would take a look at changing our responses. And this beautiful little slide here, by the way, these have all been done in Keynote. I love Keynote, it worked very well. Generally speaking, it's fine for the screen too, but it doesn't work so well on Zoom. So rather than go through all the fuss of trying to change it over to PowerPoint, I've just kept all the elements of it on there. So you'll know a little bit, you'll be able to catch ahead of me and you'll know a little bit about where I'm going to. So here we go. This is my little bubble that I'm in, and it's my world. We call this a power bubble, and it's the world that we live in. And it's our immune system that's around us. And of course, we like to stay protected in it. And you can see that auto-response psychology shows us how our immune system works and how we can change it. So this is how it works. First thing we need to understand is that little line of Talmud Bavi, from Talmud Bavi. It says, we do not see things as they are, we see things as we are. I don't know who wrote that in the Talmud, but it's so true. And here we've got various auto responses: fight and flight, ask and tell, gentle and strong, cautious and bold, those sorts of things. And this is what happens. You can see this now. You might want to put it on full screen or whatever. This is what happens when we have an incoming event. And you'll see here on the screen, everything we see, hear, feel, taste and smell is something that we call an incoming event. It's just an incident, and whatever it happens to be. And of course, in order to stay safe and to feel safe, we ask, what is this? Is this safe? What do I need to learn? How will it help me? Do I want it? And the only way, as adults or as children, in fact, we can deal with that is we go to our memory bank. And that's all the information that's in our head, all the things that are there. What do I need to learn is an interesting one. How will it help me? Of course, but something we don't usually say out loud, of course. Or do I want it? And these are all things that are happening underneath the surface. In order to find that out, we go in there and search through our brains. And of course, this isn't being done on a conscious level. We don't have the time to do that. This is done on an unconscious level. So for instance, you're walking down the street and somebody comes running at you with a knife. You will have got an automatic reaction to that. Probably to run away. For some of us, it will be to stand up and fight it. But one thing's for sure, you're not going to say to yourself, I don't want to overreact to this person. I wonder, as he's getting closer and closer and closer and looking more and more angry, you will have automatically reacted. However, not everything that we do is what we want. And of course, as adults, we find ourselves still reacting as little children or teenagers. And so as we've been to that memory bank, we ask, what now? How do I respond to this? And we have this simple line, it's not really simple, which is that peace filter. It says, will my response be good, safe, possible for me, worth it, best, or right? And I don't know whether you can just quietly say that to yourself. Good, safe, possible for me, worth it, best, and right. That is what we check it out with. And on the basis of whether something is perceived to be good, safe, possible for me, worth it, best, and right, or one of those, or all of them, we're just writing those down. If the answer is yes, then it goes through the peace filter and we behave in a way accordingly. However, sometimes it doesn't go right. And so what do? Well, here we are, we've got something that doesn't go right. Our system says no. So we need to process it, because you know as well as I do, you have coached many, many people who have perceived something as not good, not safe, not worth it, not possible for them, and not right, or even just one of those. And when that happens, we need to process it a little bit more. Now, I haven't put into this, in fact, I'll just not let you see that one for a second. We haven't put into this what happens in our brains. And over here in the UK, a number of us have been coaching people around power change coaches. We've got quite a few power change coaches around Sussex, which is our county in the south of England, the southern half of the UK, actually. And we spend time from time to time looking at these things and talking about them. And we've been thinking about the neurological background of this. And I have to say that I don't have this huge amount of evidence. I haven't cut into anybody's head to check this out. But I think so much of what our natural reactions are, our auto response reactions are embedded in the amygdala and that area of the brain. And our theory is that a lack of connectivity between that reptilian part of the brain, if you like, and the prefrontal cortex, if there isn't enough activity there, we tend to resort to unthought out, unconsidered, I was going to say almost uncivilized responses, much more reptilian responses, much more basic animal responses. So And of course, as human beings, we don't want to be like that because not everything is like that. So what do? Well, we grind it some more in the mill. And if you look at this, you'll see that blue area there where we come to. Will this be good, safe, possible for me, worth it, best and right? And sometimes we just simply say, I don't know. And you'll see there's two choices there. I don't know, which is the vertical arrow, and the one that goes to the right, which says yes. So if the answer is I don't know, then we need to understand how that works. So we spend some more time thinking about it. And we ask ourselves, what am I missing? And in fact, we go to that information bank, and it does exactly the same as it did before. So we need new information. And as we think about that, and as we consider it, and as we research it maybe, we'll have new information, and that will enable us to answer yes to, will this be good, safe, possible for me, worth it, best or right? And our outgoing behavior will change. In fact, those neurological circuits are strengthened every time we drive along them. You'll have heard the story about a pathway in a meadow becoming a motorway simply because more and more people have used it, then tractors, then cars, then wanting to overtake. And the more traffic it gets, the stronger the connection gets. And of course, that's what happens in our brains, as I'm sure those of you who are listening to me now, if you've been coaching for any length of time or shortly, or certainly had got any psychological background, you'll understand that. So here we come to the power changer. And this is what I was going to teach you, first of all, from this session. You know, I said, I'll teach you our number one tool. And I have to say, let me stop that share for a moment. I have to say that the power changer for us has been absolutely fundamental in working with clients. I do not at any time operate with clients these days without at some point in the first session, that's in the first 2 hours, doing the power changer with them. And the reason is this: so many people have valued themselves on a particular basis, the basis of what they do and what they have, and not on the basis of what they are. And I'll need to explain that. Now, I don't know whether it's possible to coach Claire at this point. Joe, is she around? Or somebody else who is prepared to volunteer to be coached through this, and I'll explain it and show you how it works. Although, of course, you're not, when I say you're not paying me, I don't mean that I'm after anybody's money. It's just that when a client comes to me, they are wanting to be coached. They are ready. They're committed. By the way, I have 2 rules about money. And the first one is all money is paid up front. And the second rule is I don't give any money back. And people say to me, Andrew, how can you do that? And I say, well, actually, there's a good reason for doing that. And this is a reason. If a person has paid all their money up front for this coaching, not session by session, if they paid all their money up front, they are very, very eager to listen, pay attention, and respond to the coach, particularly when they know that they won't get any money back. So it just deals with that whole thing. They can ask me what questions they like, but it does make a lot of difference. So now I can see Claire. Hello, Claire. Nice to see you. I can't hear you. Can you speak up? No, I can't hear you. I will need to be able to hear you if you're going to speak. I can't hear anything. Yes. I can hear now. Great.
So,
yes,
yeah,
Claire.
I'm the default coachee, but we wanted to throw it out to any of our participants, of which there are 26, I see. That's great. If there's anyone out there who would like to be coached by Andrew.
Yeah, great. That suits me a treat. I love that.
Mm-hmm. So please put it in the chat if you're interested in being coached by Andrew.
Right.
There's Joe. I see Joe. Well,
anybody else?
No one's typing in. So
no one's taking the risk.
And believe
me, Paula's agreed to do it. So let me.
Okay, great.
Let me bring Paula on. Hang on.
Okay.
See if I can get her.
I will need to see Paula.
Okay.
By the way, I do a lot of coaching these days on Skype, all over the world, and It's a very, very good way of doing it. The lovely thing is, in the last 5 years, particularly, it has become so much more accurate, so much more useful.
Okay, Paula, just unmute your mic.
Sorry?
Paula needs to unmute her mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Well done, Paula. Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, there you are. Good. Right, Paula, I'm going to ask you a simple question. You okay with this?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking forward to it? And by the way, the secret is always to look forward to coaching with me because it's such fun. I
agree. I like that. That's how I feel about it too.
Great. Thank you. That's much better. Right. So my question is, on a scale of 0 to 10, by the way, this is a question that's well worth remembering, everybody. On a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is 0 and 10 is off the scale, 0 off the scale, what is the value of your life as a human being on this earth?
10.
0 to 10. Sorry?
10.
10. And what makes it worth 10?
Because I'm an amazing person who has a lot of wonderful stuff to contribute to the world.
Okay. So if you didn't have that stuff to contribute to the world, would you still be 10?
Yes.
So what makes you worth 10 then?
It's just who I am. I think,
by the way, everybody, this is a very normal reaction. Suddenly.
Well, actually, you know, and I have to say, if you would have asked me this question a year or two ago, I would have answered totally differently. I've done a lot of work in the last year on self-worth. So.
Well, the lot of work I'm delighted with. Normally with us, it takes less than an hour to do this. So well, you're just going to be seeing it now. Okay. So what makes you worth 10?
I think what makes me a 10 is the fact that I'm very open to the world and what's going on. I think that I have become really good at being able to be present without engaging in the drama and the fear that our brains pop up, you know, all the time. And I think that, let's see, why else am I a 10? I think I'm a 10 because I've learned to be true to myself. And that's probably the biggest reason, is that I'm comfortable being who I am, and I don't have to try to be somebody else to prove something to other people.
Okay, so we've got all these little things that I would call haves and do's. I'm valuable because I have this and because I do that. Is that right? I lost you. Paul, you've switched off your microphone again.
Sorry, I just hit it with my chair. Okay, can you hear me now?
Is that right? You have got all the haves and the do's, and your value is based on the haves and the do's.
Yes.
Okay. So where were you born? Were you born in a hospital, at home, in a car, in a lift,
Hospital.
hotel?
Hospital.
Hospital. Okay, so when you were born in a hospital, you will have noticed that there were probably other children, little children born there as well. And let's just assume there was a little girl who was brought in by a taxi driver from an unwanted mum who didn't want to, left on a doorstep. So she didn't have anybody who was interested in her or loved her at all. What's the value of that little baby girl out of 10? 10. Yeah. Okay, so there's another one who has got Down syndrome and will never be able to do and be all the things that you can do and be. What's the value of that little child?
I still have to say 10 because it's a human being. I mean,
it's, sorry, because what?
Because it's a sentient being. You know, it has.
Well, if it wasn't sentient, it still would be a human being, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So now we're seeing a little bit of a change, aren't we? This isn't actually dependent on whether you have done work on yourself. You had fears or not fears. You are able to learn or not learn. So let's just take a look at the physical stuff. Let's say on our televisions recently, we've had quite a lot about thalidomide. So here's this little body, this person with a body that will never ever be able to do some of the things that you and I can do. So what's the value of that little person out of 10?
I would say 10, but I guess it depends on how you judge value. I mean, I'm looking at it from a spiritual level. If you wanted to look at it from a societal level, especially in a society like ours, where you're defined on what you can do and what you have, it would be much lower.
Okay, so what we're saying then is that you're saying that there's a spiritual level that you would call everybody 10 on. Yeah. But society judges it differently. In fact, of course, if you asked a little baby girl, if we were able to pick that little baby up that you were when you were a tiny little person, Paula, here you are. Were you called Paula then? Some people were. Were you called Paula when you were born or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a very useful question because some people are adopted or they've had their names changed or they've, all sorts of weird things happen. And when you're coaching them at this point, all those things pop out, so, including whether they've got a dad or whether they haven't got a dad or when who knows what and all those things, which is very useful because you can coach that person through those things. But and my response is, okay, so this little thalidomide child is also worth 10. Yes. Now, if I was coaching you and you can see what's happening already is that you have put your value in the fact that you've learned a lot and you don't have the tears you did and all those sorts of things. And then you said to me, well, I'm a human being. And then you said, I'm a sentient person. Well, of course, the sentient is something you have, not something you are.
Good point. Yeah.
Okay, and we're not talking, and you notice I didn't say who you are because that's about personality, which is all about doing and having. Okay, I'm talking about the essence of human life here. I said what you are, not who you are. I mean, you're not a squirrel, you're not a tree, you're not a chair, you're not a mouse. I hate to tell you, but we've got some mouse poison upstairs because we've got some mice in our house. But I wouldn't be giving it to you because
you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean,
Yes. So here we are. We're already moving from one place to another. And by the way, when I'm working with clients, I say to them as a sort of little tester for them at the beginning of this, I say, okay, so you're saying you're worth 5 or 7 or 9 or 2 or 1 or whatever. Okay, 9. Some people say 9. But you said 10, but you said 10 based on what you do, actually, didn't you? Okay. Now then I would look you in the eye and say, if you couldn't do all those things, would you still be worth 10?
Yes.
Right. So
it took a long time to learn that. So
yeah, but only because somebody hasn't explained it to you.
Absolutely.
When I'm working with clients, I explain it to them and it takes me half an hour. And I say to them, now look me straight in the eye and tell me you're worth 9, 8, 7 or whatever they said before. And I'll go, no, I'm worth 10. And I said, oh, come on, you just a few minutes ago, you said 6. So come on. No, I'm worth 10. I've always been worth 10 since the day I was born. Every human born, and now I get that sort of strong reaction.
Like the claiming
That's
of it.
what I call the power changer, because it moves people away from the ingrained conditioning that we have from little children. You see, if I asked a 0-year-old child, if they understood the question, what's your value? They go 10. All right.
Of course.
That's it. You see, it's the of course, isn't it?
Yeah.
So actually, at some stage, they learned that they are worth 10 only if they do this or have that. And we condition them in terms of our society, in terms of our family life, in terms of, oh, well, you'll be loved more if, you'll get better grades and the teacher will like you more if, etc. and all those things. But of course, that's not what we're doing. Is we're tricking these children. We're taking them into a fantasy world of unreality, because the reality is they're worth 10.
Absolutely.
Every human. And the way I do that, I've just realized, oh no, I haven't got a £10 note in my bag. But you imagine me holding a $10 bill. Okay. So I say, so how many dollars is this worth? And the answer is
10.
10. Okay. And then I spit on it, screw it up, rub my underarms with it, just make it really. My brother, by the way, who does this, he did our coach training. He goes to wipe his bottom with it, but anyway, that's beside the point. But anyway, an abused $10 bill, and I say, okay, so what is it worth now? And they'll say, well, 10. And I said, just a minute, this $10 bill has been abused, spat on, treated badly, stamped on, shouted at, because I will shout at it, you are worth 3. You see?
It's a great metaphor, by the way.
And I say, so how many is it worth now? And they go, 10. So I said, so it hasn't been devalued simply because it's been shouted at, treated badly, or scribbled on, or whatever. No. So I say, you imagine this £10 note getting up in the morning and think, a $10 bill, getting up in the morning and thinking, but I actually only feel 6. So does that make it a $6 bill? No. So its value isn't even dependent on what it thinks.
Yep.
Now you can see how the power is changing in that person's life, because they are moving away from valuing themselves based on what they've done or what they can do, their potential, what they have or what they don't have. And even, and we've added this one in recently, what I call the no choice responses in our lives. We didn't choose where we were born. We didn't choose the children, the brothers and sisters we had. We didn't choose a mum or dad. We didn't choose our skin color. We didn't choose our nationality. We didn't choose whether we were boys or girls or not. It's not to do with that choice. Now I'm happy to go to this next slide. So look me in the eye and tell me you're worth less than 10.
Less than 10?
Yeah.
I don't wanna.
The truth is, if you are serious about it, you're not going to say less than 10.
Yeah, I mean, I can say it, but I won't mean it.
That's great. Well, Paula, I'm going to tune you out now because you're
okay. Well, thank you, because I love the metaphor, and I can really relate to everything you're saying, because that's the process I've gone through over the last few years of having to look at the auto respond and say, wait a minute, that's not who I want to be. And learn to do it differently. And believe me, I've invested a lot of therapy.
By the way, you said who I want to be, and I'm talking about what you are.
Yeah.
You see, even though you think you're worth 6 and you want to be worth 10, you are still worth 10 even when you think you're worth 6.
Yeah.
So this isn't a matter of what I want to be. I'm so glad I've realized that now.
Yeah.
I've always been worth 10. I always will be worth 10. And nobody can ever devalue me unless they can turn me into something other than a human life.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
See the difference?
Yes,
I've only got a few minutes to do this. I'm halfway through the hour already. But you can see how that power changer alters profoundly the deepest parts of a person's life.
Absolutely. It's like night and day.
Yeah. The other thing it does, of course, is it means people are no longer worried about failing so much, because if they fail, it's just failing.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to devalue them. They're not attached to having to have things. So it starts adjusting the way they spend their money, the way they earn their money, the way they perceive themselves in the context of other people, because they're worth 10 whether they have that or not. I just bought myself a really nice coffee maker that I put on the kitchen table, a really posh one, I mean. But the truth is, I enjoy the good coffee, but it actually doesn't change my value.
Yeah.
I'm just Andrew Sercombe.
Yeah.
And the word life is what it's about too. When we say life, we mean two things. Either we mean the time from the day we were conceived to the day we die, which is our life, or we can see life as whether I'm alive or dead. And of course, that is also part of the shift.
Yeah.
The shift is saying, no, it is the life that you have, the difference between dead and alive. That is what gives you your value. Right. I'm going to tune you out.
Okay, thank you.
Another one now. So well done, you. All right. In fact, you need to pull out because I need to share the screen here. There we go. Yep. Can you all see that? Great. Right, so here we've got perceived worth. And by the way, these three little pictures are really quite fun. This top one is some people winning a long race in under one of the marathons. The middle picture there is me walking towards my house. No, it's not my house. It's a very posh house that my son had his wedding in. And the bottom one, as you'll see, I've missed one off actually as well. The bottom one is that chance thing, but we'll look at it. I missed one of my mum as well. You can see her as well. So we learn to value people based on performance. The issue is we learn to value people based on performance, possessions, and unavoidables. Okay, here we are. Here are some of the unavoidables: race, gender, upbringing, nationality, age, DNA, genetics, etc. And you'll see there are all sorts of people in those two photographs. I've just done the demo, so we won't be going with that. By the way, I like doing demos because, as Eliza Doolittle said, I'm sick of words. Show me. And showing me is so much better, isn't it? Notice that when I was doing the demo, we didn't get worked up about it. It wasn't sort of a deeply emotional experience. It was absolutely matter of fact and down to earth and transformational, in fact. Well, it would have been more transformational if Paula hadn't spent the last 2 years doing some work on it. But you remember, I have people being referred to me by doctors and all sorts of other people, some of them in quite bad shape. And they're absolutely desperate. And this explanation is really helpful. Here we have 10. You can see it at the top. The first one, unavoidable happenstance, we call it over here, or it's a sort of new in word, isn't it? And I call those no choice events, things that we haven't chosen. The next block, the red block with the possessions growth zone above it, is the I haves. And until we own the world, of course, there's always room for more material wealth. Whether there's room for more in our house or we just buy a bigger house. But until we own the universe, of course, there's always room for more. The third block there is performance, is the I do. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. And the fourth one is I am. When I do this with live keynote or PowerPoint or whatever, I have those growing slowly in time. They sort of go up like this, okay? But the I am one on the end just comes straight on. It doesn't grow. And there isn't any room for growth. You can't get to 11. 10 is maximum. 10 is infinite. So the value of my human life is suddenly. And by the way, that's a picture of my mum at the top there. You might be, now's the moment to go And I said to her, "Oh, Mum, who's that baby?" And she said, "I have no idea, darling. Somebody just gave her to me, and I loved her." And I think that just typifies my mum as it happens. Right. So here we are. True worth is founded in block 4. There it is. Block 4. I'm not what I do, and I recite this time and again. I work with clients. I believe I was taught French by a teacher who stuttered. So he constantly would say, and I'm going to stutter now just to sort of make the point. He used to say, repetition is the essence of learning. And of course, we thought it was very funny. We laughed at him. But you know what? He taught me that. The repetition is the essence of learning, time and again. And of course, those are some of the things we've learned in our lives that aren't particularly helpful. However, shock is also, trauma is often a major learning time for us. I'm not sure whether we'll have any time to deal with that later. We may do. And you'll see, I said, I'm not what I do. What to do is just what I do. That's all it is. And so I'll look at a person on the train, a shopkeeper or anybody else, and I'll start a little conversation. And I'll say, well, of course, you're not what you do. What you do is just what you do. That's all it is. And I have that sort of, oh, come on, sort of look on my face. I'm not what I have. What I have is just what I have. That's all it is. I'm not my background or upbringing or my skin tone or my height or my gender. That's just unavoidables. My primary value is revealed in the incontrovertible fact that I'm a living human being. And of course, you can look at that person and you say, and do you know what? All the time you're a living human being, you're worth 10. And of course, if they weren't a living human being, they wouldn't be able to hear you say that, so it wouldn't be an issue. Right, here we go. Look, here's the next little one. I'm going to stop in a minute just for questions as well. Here are all the I haves. Here are all the I do's. and the no choice happenstance in the bottom. But underneath, you'll see that we've taken the green column from the right and put it down on underneath the ground. One of my lines as a coach, I say I have very little to offer above ground level. Because the emphasis of what I'm doing is sorting out what's underneath the ground. And if you sort out what's underneath the ground of a person's life, what they build will stand. If they haven't got the foundations right, eventually when the pressures of life come hammering on them, something will give somewhere. I've just had a friend who's had a stroke, and part of the difficulty for him is that he's only 50, but he's lived a very, very stressful life. And his background is really quite challenged too. And so he hasn't sorted out that. And all of a sudden we've got a crack. By the way, I'm not saying that every illness is based on this. I'm just simply saying that it may be true that his is. Here we are, all these various things. That auto response shield around the outside is our automatic reaction to all the other things that come in. And you'll see there are internal things and external things. And the internal ones are things like guilt, duty, rules, love and fear. The external ones are things like parent, boss, business, media, friend. And of course, I've just put a little smattering of those things. I'm not going to go to that unless we have a little bit of time to talk later. But have I made sense today? I mean, I've been talking for about 40 minutes. Maybe you can give me some feedback or have some questions for me. That would be great.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'll try to get them answered for you.
I can talk. I run a 24-day coach training program. So just believe me, I can talk for 24 days without stopping.
Claire, Andrew, I have a question or a comment. It seems that your model is very useful, would be very useful in helping people to overcome prejudice, racism, if you like, me versus you, that's so prevalent in our society today.
Yes, is the answer to that. Do you know?
Go ahead. Do you find that, so how do you deal with that, or do you help
Who
people?
am I talking to?
Claire.
Claire. Ah, right, Claire. Yes, Claire. My answer to the question, can you help me, is almost always yes. There are very, very few situations where what we do has a limit. And race is definitely one area. It's not just race, it's all the other physical things that go with it. Culture, as I said, skin tone, clothes, those sorts of things, expressions that people use, language, all those things fit in that package. Oh, well, lovely. Nice to see you. So the answer is yes, it's amazing. I absolutely love doing what I do. But the one thing we always start with is 10 out of 10. Because you see, once you've understood that, you can change all the other things. You know, we are no longer governed by a person's reaction to us. We won't lose self-esteem because somebody's being nasty to us or unkind to us, which is very often what a race is about, the sense of feeling less valuable than all the other people in the world. You know, the question is, am I a human being? You see? And if the answer is I'm a human being, then nothing else matters. Absolutely nothing else matters when it comes to your personal sense of worth.
Okay.
It is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very useful in today's society.
Well, once you get practiced at
it. The US, yeah.
Well, you see, I also do business coaching, Claire, and work with some really quite important people from that point of view. And I've worked with some amazing people in the top end of international police and things like that. So, and their response every time, of course, is they're brought up and trained that what you do is what matters. Mm-hmm. Okay? And what you do in terms of promotion. You've got to do this or you won't get that. And if you don't get that, you know what everybody will think of you, etc. So once that's fine, you can treat all those, but it doesn't lock itself in once you've disconnected what I am from what I do.
Yeah.
And when I'm coaching people over probably 4 sessions, 5 sessions of 2 hours over a period of about 2 months. So in between wise, their brains are running wild. You know, actually, I don't need to do that. And all of a sudden, one of the things that happens is people feel bereaved for the past that they haven't enjoyed because they were hooked into what I call the fantasy of less than 10. You know, the fantasy that your value is dependent on what you do and what you have, or the whatever upbringing.
Okay, we have a few other questions and comments.
Great.
Nalita wants to thank you. She says it's useful for dealing with insecurity and bullying.
Yep. Yes, we have a specific tool for that. Let me just find it. Have I not got it here? No, I haven't. But we have a specific, I might have. We have a specific tool for handling bullying, and we call it Fields of Strength. Here it is. This one, by the way, I'm not flogging it or anything like that. I'm just simply saying this tool is something we use for that area. I like having leaflets and brochures around, not least because when a client is sitting down with me and I say, oh, let me just go through this with you. We certainly won't go through every question, because there's probably about 30 or 40 questions on this. But what it does is it increases that sense of confidence that the client has, that you have considered it, thought about it, and actually written a leaflet about it. So their trust in you goes up. And as you know, the greater the trust that you have with a client, the more effective your coaching will be. So all those things are really helpful. But we do have a tool called Fields of Strength, which on the front it says for bullying, abuse, and other situations of a perceived injustice or weakness. The challenge with bullying, by the way, bullying only really occurs when you have an imbalance of power. So if you have a very, very powerful person and a not so very powerful person, the temptation is for this one to bully this one. So the moment you balance the power, you won't get the bullying. It stops. What you don't want is this. Because if you push this up, this person will try and do some more, and this will happen. So what you want to do is balance the power, and bullying stops almost straight away then. And of course, so if somebody is physically strong, you can find other areas of power for them. We have a whole list of them here: physical strength, intellectual strength, communication strength, emotional strength, loads more, time strength, spiritual strength, etc. So you can increase power in another area, which does, so you have a little girl who is being bullied in the playground, and she says, I will tell my mummy about you. And of course, the bullying stops because she's just actually connected into social strength. She hasn't understood that, but there's social strength there. She's got a little group behind her that will hold her, or people who will stand up for you, or you'll have experienced somebody who can talk themselves out of any situation. So they're in physical danger maybe, but they can talk themselves out of it because they've got brilliant communication strength. So having those work out together.
Have you seen can you see some of the questions that are?
Yes, Neil has just said, is there a link or site I can visit to get more info and details? Oh, Nalita, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. Here we are. I'm from Power Change. My email address is andrew@powerchange. www.powerchange is my website, but I'm only too happy to say to you, do feel free to Skype me or call me or email me, andrew@powerchange.com, and I'll do everything I can to help. I won't always charge, but sometimes if it goes on a bit, I'll need to. But you know, let's forget that for a moment and just get on with it and do it, because there's all sorts of things I can do to help you, and maybe able to send you leaflets and stuff like that if you want them.
Someone wanted to know if you could share the slides. Would you be comfortable with doing that?
Oh yeah. What, the same ones or some more?
Well, the ones that you were presenting, they said they were going by too quickly for them to really.
Okay. Yes. Here we are then.
If you could just, can they send you an email and you can send them copies of the slides?
No, I won't actually send this set out. But I'm very happy to go through it individually with people and talk to them. The power changer. This is the one that's important. Perceived worth. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. Isn't that just so true? People quote Stephen Covey for that one, but actually it comes from the Talmud. We learn to value people based on performance, possessions, and unavoidables. When we were talking just now, we were talking about unavoidable skin color, race, gender. Those are unavoidables. And our tendency is to make judgments on them. Next one was this one. I told you about those, the demo. This one here, look, No choice events. I have, I do, I am. On one of my business cards, I had that little strapline, I'm not what I do is just what I do, that's all it is. I'm not what I have is just what I have, that's all it is. I am a priceless human being, a human being of infinite worth. As somebody said to me, well, I'm breathing, Andrew, so I'm worth 10. And I think, great. That's just, that's it, isn't it? Are you breathing? Yes, so you're worth 10. Next one. Oh, that's a little bit about that.
Can you repeat your email address again, or the website?
Andrew@powerchange.com. That's all you really need to remember is Andrew@powerchange. And powerchange is just, powerchange is one of those words that's so difficult to forget. You try and forget it. It gets into your head. I'm just teasing you, okay? It gets into your head and you think, now power change, I've tried so hard to forget power change, but all the time it keeps coming to me, power change. And lo and behold, you can remember all these resources are. Okay. By the way, I do that kind of thing with my clients. If I want something embedded, I will do all sorts of things to get it embedded in different parts of their life. So I'll stand up and get them to stand up and stand them and hold their head and stare into their eyes. And believe me, I've got really strong eyes. And I'll say, right, listen to me. And I'll talk very strongly like that. Well, of course, they know this is fun. They know this is me being a mock strong, and sometimes I'm actually strong because absolutely in my heart is the best for this client. What is the best for this client? That's the question I'm always asking. How can I help this person live a life they're proud to own? So here we are. Here are the ones here on. Oh, let me show you. I haven't shown you, not sharing the screen. That's my trouble, isn't it? Let me show you the screen. Share screen. Ta-da, there you go. I have and I do. There are those things there. I have ideas of body, possessions, reputation, success, friends. You see, success in so many of our cultures is a big deal. But the truth is, it's part of what I have or not. A lot of people aren't successful. And of course, as I say to people, you try and find me somebody who hasn't been successful, and they say, well, I'm not successful, Andrew. And I say, well, you actually haven't understood what success is. It looks to me like you got up this morning, you put your clothes on, you cleaned your teeth, you've had your breakfast, you've got here, you've sat down, you can talk English. So which of those things haven't you done successfully? You can drive a car, you can do all these things. These are all successes. What's happening is you've got one particular success that you haven't achieved yet. And in the process, you've forgotten all the others. And of course, that also affects people. Another one of my lines is, they say, well, I'm not very confident. And I go, oh, not another one. And they say, what do you mean? I say, well, the big mistake is assuming that you've got to have confidence before you can do something. So the truth is you can do it without it. And you can do it just because you're courageous. Courage is so much more useful than confidence is, because confidence you only have after the event. When you've done it, you're confident and you can do it. But when you've done it, when you have courage, you can do it. You can start almost anything. And lo and behold, you can be confident with it too. So there's another one. There's a happenstance one. Here's the next one. Now then, this one is really interesting. This is the one I didn't get around to, to speak. This one comes from a person saying, so what is me? And of course, I've just put a little me label there because I don't include what I am, a human life, as anything to do with personality. I think personality is is based around what I do and what I have. Me as a human life has got nothing to do with that. So we also have these things here, and you can see how all those little arrows in the middle join up the externals and the internal halves, the external and internal do's, but none of them go to the no choice happenstance, and none of them go to what I am. Because actually, without what I am, there is none of those things, and what I am cannot be changed. I am what I am, worth what I am. And that's the shield that goes around the outside that protects me. It's an auto-response shield. And once that sense of, my value is and what I am, then nothing else matters so much. So when people are unkind, of course it hurts, but it cannot change your value. And I put all those speakers around the outside there so that you can see how when people are tempted to, because what happens is it's not just parents, it's what parents say. Words are just such an amazing power in all these things. I'm just wondering whether to nip on with these with you. No, I don't think I will. But what I will do, no, I'm not going to do that either. You can see how, what I do is I do a presentation for GP, doctors, general practitioners. And this is some of the stuff that I do for them. This is a little bit of what you'll understand. I don't know how many of you are aware of the importance of myelin in the brain. By the way, I don't use neuroscience as a throwaway line because I think it won't be very long before it's lost its appeal, and we don't want that to happen. So neuroscience is another sort of an overworked word, and I try and avoid those if I can. This one shows right in the middle the nerves that connect one cell to another. We have 100 billion neurons in our head, 15,000 ion channels on each one, but each neuron has a very few number of connections to the other neurons around it, and that's what we call the nerves, and that's the red bit in the middle. And it's a version of a pathway across the woods being turned into a motorway. You can see that every time I give something significant attention, I add a very, 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 very thin myelin sheath around it. By the way, dementia is with that myelin sheath disintegrating so that it shorts out to all sorts of other things around and doesn't connect to signal properly. But this is helping people to understand how to embed things in your brain. In my clients' brains, I give them loads and loads of attention, and I'm real aware I've got only 5 minutes left. Every time you give significant attention to something, it becomes more embedded in the brain, even if it's something you don't want. Now, people don't stop and think about that. They don't realize that if they concentrate on what they don't want, what I call an away from response, it'll get more embedded in their brain. That applies to things like food. I mustn't eat, 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 you see, or I must keep my diet, I must keep, you see, all those things. How much better to say, oh, I'd really love to be a better shape. What shape would I like to be? So you focus on being that shape. We run something called the Shape Program, by the way, which is all about those sorts of things. Anyway, the more work the connection has to do, time, thinking, challenge, exercise, joy, resentment even, the stronger the signal becomes and the more automatic the response, because that's what we're wanting. We're wanting to create healthy automatic responses. And these are just a few of the things here you can see. Obsess. Obsess on outcome, obsess on what you want, obsess. The more obsessive you become, the more important that thing becomes to you and the more likely you are to do it. Think about it a lot and write notes, experiment, try it. You see these, get yourself a coach, like me, of course, modest, humble, and all that. Okay, get yourself a coach to inspire, question, and challenge you. Imagine using it at home, at work, just constantly creating those things. And when you come back to these fight and flight things, you see, all of a sudden you find, actually, no. I remember a woman coming to us on one of our training courses, and she said to me, Andrea, I'm absolutely terrified of snakes, and I'm absolutely terrified of flying. And she said, I've got to go to Australia on a plane with my brother, and that Australia's full of snakes. And I said to her, yeah, because phobias, generally speaking, don't take long to sort, about 10 minutes, something like that, 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe at the outside. So, you can sort out phobias really quite quickly if you're a reasonably competent coach. She came back, she sent us a photograph, which was at the next session. She couldn't come to the next monthly training weekend. And she sent us the picture of her with a huge python round her neck. And she said, my husband kept on digging me in the ribs saying, for goodness sake, be quiet. When we were taking off, she said, because I sat there laughing and laughing and laughing. And well, those are the sort of days you really want, aren't they? Those are the ones you love best. Okay.
We're coming up on the hour. So
here's the last one. I have something called Max Winchester. And if you look up Max Winchester on the internet, you may just come to some of my creations. And Max finally comes of age as his little character cartoon. Said, Max, Who exactly is responsible for all this? I am. Thanks, everybody.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. It was a very interesting presentation. I'm sure our attendees got quite a bit out of it. You got a lot of interesting questions and a lot of good feedback. Anyone have any last questions before we sign off?
I'm trying to get out of this share business. Screen sharing has stopped as the sharing screen has closed. Okay.
Well, in any case,
there we go. Yeah.
Okay, I think we got everything. Well, thank you. Before we depart, I'm going to give the closing code. The closing code is behavioral, BEHAVIORAL, behavioral. That is the closing code. And with that said, thank you very much, Andrew, for your fine presentation. It was very interesting, very informative.
Can I just apologize to the people whose questions I didn't answer down there? If you just email me then, andrew@powerchange.com, we can have a dialogue individually or literally go to Skype. My Skype address is Andrew Sercombe.
Very good. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's been lovely to be with you. I hope it's been useful.
Have a great time. Great rest of the day.
Thank you very much.